Hey, this is Darren from Property Prosperity. Today I thought I'd have a bit of chat about something I've started to notice, well, more and more nowadays, is that people coming to me, and also people when I'm selling houses, people coming to me looking at buying houses, they're more informed than they'd ever been before. So, which is a good thing. People have access to a lot more information than they otherwise would. So people come to an open inspection, they know what every house is sold down the street, or someone comes to talk to me about getting a loan to buy an investment property, and they know what interest rates and fees and charges are on the market, and likewise, with someone looking at doing a subdivision, they can get on to the council websites and look up what the council requirements are to subdivide and all that sort of stuff. I think the thing people don't necessarily realise, there's a difference between information and knowledge. And to gain true knowledge, that's where experience comes in. So, when you add information to experience, then you end up with knowledge to give you a really good, clear understanding of not just the facts, but also the facts within context of how it applies to your particular situation. And so the thing is, sometimes you don't really know the things you don't know until you get out there and learn by trial and error, unfortunately. So the problem with Googling things is you can only Google the answers to questions that you ask the question of. And if you haven't asked the right question, you don't necessarily get back the right answer. So potentially, all the answers might be there right in front of you. But if you don't have the experience or to be able to ask the right question, then you might not get the right answer. And so that's a lot of the problems people get. Particularly I see, with property, it's so expensive to buy a property, and it's expensive to sell a property and do a development, and you look at interest costs and holding costs and all those sort of things involved in property. It can be quite expensive. You only have to be off a small amount, and it can cost you, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, if you act upon your decision. Or likewise, sometimes just by choosing not to do something can cost you tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars too, just purely because you've decided not to go ahead because you've had this bit of information, but you maybe weren't. Hey Ahmed, thanks for joining. You weren't as fully informed as you possibly could have been. So I think that's probably the thing for me, and I'm suggesting to people to have a really good understanding of, is just because you've got a lot of information, you've got access to all these facts and figures, doesn't necessarily mean you can make an informed decision. Because at the end of the day, your informed decision is going to come having a clear understanding of, based on your experience from the past. If you've never done it before, you can research for as long as you want, but until you've actually gone and put your money on the line and had the experience of finding out what it's like to invest, quite often it's a totally different world when you're actually putting your money on the line, and you probably find you make mistakes that you probably wouldn't have expected you'd make until you actually get out there and start doing it. And likewise, there's so many different scenarios and so many different ways of doing the same thing. You're not really going to find the most efficient way of doing it until you get out there and do it, really. Just like anything, if you got a day job, the first day you started in your job, you probably had little idea of what you're doing. You tried to work it out as you went, and after years and years and years of doing the same job, you can almost do it with your eyes closed. It's like driving a car, essentially. Remember when you first learned to drive a car? You can, you really had to concentrate about turning around the corner. And I don't know if anyone's driven a manual. When you first learned to drive a manual, you're like doing that bunny hopping thing, which now if I try to drive a manual, I wouldn't even know how to do that bunny hopping thing. It just doesn't even make sense that it's even possible to do that, because now you just get in a car and you just drive. It's almost like you go on autopilot, and sometimes you sort of look up and you've got to your destination without even realizing you were driving there, and you think, whoa, what the hell happened then? I didn't even pay attention and I managed to get to where I wanted to go. And that's where, not only the understanding of how to drive matters, but the experience of driving for thousands and thousands and thousands of hours means you can almost put yourself on autopilot, and you can react to situations without even having to consider it because you've just done it so many times before. So this applies to real estate, just applies to a lot of things in your life. So basically it's about getting the facts and about applying that knowledge, but that's based on, the knowledge comes from experience, and it comes from repetition, and it comes from looking at different scenarios and reacting to different scenarios and working out the best way to deal with different options. So then down the track, you're not going to be surprised when things pop up because you predicted what's going to happen before it happens, essentially. And it's almost like you've got a crystal ball. I've got to the point now, I've been involved in thousands of property transactions. I can go out on site and I sort of know what's going to happen before it happens. I can almost sometimes if I'm dealing with a client, purely based on their personality or the way they look at things or their mindset, you can almost imagine how things are going to play out, and 9 times out of 10 it sort of works out like you're expecting to, really. So it's just one of those things where experience and information really leads to the knowledge, and from there that knowledge is really going to allow you to get in a situation where you take advantage of opportunities that otherwise may not be open to you, because either you're too hesitant to take them, or likewise you take on opportunities which you think are a great option, but then in reality, you're probably going to end up worse off than where you started. And I suppose that's where knowledge and experience is really going to be valuable for you. And in the case of property, that knowledge and experience is worth, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, basically, to setting yourself up for the future, basically. So that's one thing I'd say to people is, don't sit and just Google everything and just sit there and become a keyboard warrior. You got to get out there and talk to people that had the experience before, and you leverage off of their experience. That's probably one of the best ways to try and learn things, is to discover the facts, but also back it up with some experience. And if you don't have the time to learn by trial and error, then go out there and engage with someone that has had that time to go out there and and the experience to make their own mistakes, and you can learn off of their mistakes. And most people you find are pretty willing to help you along the way, because they don't want you making the same mistakes that they've made in the past. So if you've liked what I had to say, then click on the like button. If you haven't liked it, still click on the like button, because I really appreciate it. And if you know someone out there that's sort of struggling to get started, and you think maybe they're suffering from a bit of analysis paralysis, then maybe click on the share this video, and hopefully they'll just get out there and feel a bit more confident about giving it a go, and just learning from their own experience, basically. So hope you liked what I had to say. If you've got something you'd like me to talk about in the future episode, or you've experienced in the past where your knowledge has meant that you've managed to take advantage of an opportunity that maybe other people couldn't have seen, or likewise you missed an opportunity because maybe your eyes weren't open to it, and so you look back in hindsight thinking, man, that was a great opportunity that I missed out on. So I'd love to hear about it, and I'd love to talk to you again next time, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.